Clemens and Chairman Bolick. I believe Trustee Gene Davis is not here yet. He will be with us quite soon. Members of Sylvia Allen's family, faculty, staff, students, and guests. I want to welcome you to the UNC School of Law on this very special occasion to dedicate the portrait of Sylvia X. Allen, the first woman of color to graduate from the UNC School of Law, who went on to distinguish herself as the first African-American female lawyer in the Cumberland County Fayetteville area, and the first African-American female assistant district attorney in North Carolina. Now I would like to introduce Dave Bolick, chairman of the UNC Chapel Hill Board of Trustees, who is from Fayetteville, to say a few words.
Thank you, Dean Brinkley. I want to also recognize, if it's okay, I saw Katie Musgrove, who is employed here at the law school, chair of our faculty of our staff senate, and thank you for all your work that you do for the university and on behalf of the university. I want to thank everyone at the law school who is involved with this portrait event and everything that surrounds it. To the students who are here today, welcome also. I want to tell you, I come to you straight from court. At 9:30 this morning, I was in front of a Superior Court judge in Cumberland County, wrapping up a criminal case. So I tell you that it can be done. You can make a living and support your family with a law degree. No doubt it may be touch and go some days, and I can tell you that it is with me. Despite the confidence that I know Dean Brinkley and your professors, I see Professor Gene Nichols here, despite the confidence that they give you on a day-to-day basis, you may often question your profession and your place in that profession. I do almost every day, but I want you to know it is a rewarding endeavor and always an honor to help a client that chooses you as their attorney. I want to say special thanks to Destiny Planner, to Scott Peeler, and Diana Florence for their generosity of time to the university, their thoughts, and of course their financial support to Carolina. The establishment of a scholarship is a mechanism of hope. It is also an opportunity, but powerful scholarships like the one we're celebrating and honoring here today that honors Sylvia Allen also most powerfully reach into the past and then set the expectation. The expectation here is not that a student will be Sylvia Allen. That's simply too much to ask. But the expectation is that a student will grab hold of the courage, the ideals, the work ethic, and the hope that Miss Allen represented. By combining a scholarship effort with a portrait, the hope is that expectation Miss Allen represents will also spread to all students who walk these halls. For me, being here is a humbling moment. Maybe what I have to say here in the next couple of seconds or minutes is meant for students and maybe a bit self-serving. Maybe it is, but I don't intend it to be. I hope you get a small appreciation of where you can go by virtue of being at this place. None of you know where you will be in 30 years. Trust me, you don't. I could never, and I may never, ever thought I'd be standing here. I was sworn in as a member of the Board of Trustees 3 years ago. A month after being sworn in, I was asked and agreed to serve on a search committee. Now, that's pretty standard stuff for a trustee. I've come to learn it's standard stuff for your dean, Dean Brinkley. It's standard stuff for faculty members. It's part of the university community's commitment to bring excellence to Chapel Hill. But this search committee was to hire the chancellor, not only of my alma mater, but of the first public university in our nation. Wow, huh? Then go to the day our chancellor was hired from interim to full-time. I had the opportunity to eat lunch in his office right before he went out to the public to accept the job. And I continue to pinch myself many, many, many times when I find myself sitting in the chancellor's office next to a window, literally overlooking the old well, discussing both everyday and serious issues confronting our university. Which brings us to today. I have an opportunity to stand here by virtue of the fact that I am chair of the board of trustees as an alumna of the university's undergraduate program. Now, I have to confess, I am a law graduate of Campbell. I consider us to be somewhat sister institutions where I got my law degree and MBA degree, but it continues to be humbling. I drove the same drive that Miss Allen drove as a student this morning coming from Fayetteville to Chapel Hill. Like that swearing in to the Board of Trustees 3 years ago, I was sworn into the bar in September of 1997. But for me, I most remember being sworn in as an assistant district attorney in 1998. Today, for me, it is important that I stand here today, both as an alum of UNC, but more importantly, as an alum and as an alum of the Cumberland County District Attorney's Office, as was Miss Allen, and as a member of the bar in Cumberland County. Now, let's be clear. I know that I'm not a Black woman. I'm very clear about that. But nonetheless, she, along with many, many others, and I see Judge Beth Keever, a graduate of this university, sitting here today, who was chief district judge in Cumberland County when I started my career. Many, many others who came through the district attorney's office, you did too, Judge Keever, in Fayetteville, laid a groundwork for a culture, an atmosphere, and camaraderie in that office that has allowed me to thrive as a young attorney in a place where today there are attorneys from so many different backgrounds and so many places that I can't even begin to list categories. That has allowed Judge Ammons, who is our senior resident judge, who's here today, and others to thrive as members of the Cumberland County Bar. Members of our bar in Fayetteville have affected this state in many ways. Some humble folks like Terry Sanford, governor, U.S. senator, and we do have to say president of that other school down the road. Proof that even great people have slips in judgment. Justice Timmons Goodson, Justice Ed Brady, Justice Sherry Beasley. We have even two judges currently running for a Court of Appeals seat right now who are both from Cumberland County. They're running for the same seat. Our bar in Cumberland County continues to break ground in higher education. We have two members of the Board of Governors. We also have myself as chair at UNC. Attorney Glenn Adams serves as chair of the board at Fayetteville State University. To wrap up, I say all of that only to illustrate that even a regular guy like me can be chair of the board and find himself rubbing elbows and thus learning and taking away lessons from really great individuals. You can too. So every time you walk past this portrait that will be unveiled shortly, think about the fact that regardless of where you come from, what you look like, you belong here. Remember that you will affect this nation, this state, this university. You will affect everyday people in your work. And hopefully you will follow in Miss Allen's footsteps and grab the opportunity to lay a groundwork for someone else to succeed. With that, I want to say it's a great day to be a Tar Heel.
It's now my pleasure to introduce Scott Peeler, UNC Law class of 1997, and Diana Florence, UNC Law class of 1995. Scott and Diana launched the Sylvia X Allen Scholarship Endowment Fund with a generous gift that made it possible for our law school to commission the portrait we will dedicate today. Scott and Diana.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here to honor an extraordinary woman. You know, it's amazing and maybe a little weird to be inspired by someone you've never met. But Sylvia Allen, who was born 99 years ago in Cuba, is someone that has something for everyone. She was an immigrant, person of color, a woman, working mom, public servant, and then of course, maybe most important, depending on your perspective, a Tar Heel. Like Sylvia, I'm a proud mom and I'm a Tar Heel, double Tar Heel, very proud of that. And I spent the bulk of my career as a prosecutor. You know, in my practice, one of the things that I think always helped me really understand my cases was going and visiting the crime scene and really talking to the people in the place that the thing happens. One of the wonderful honors that we've had over the past week was to go down to Fayetteville yesterday, and Judge Ammons, who's here today, gave us an incredible tour. And we got to see where Ms. Allen worked. We got to go to the courtroom where she practiced. And we got to see, amongst a sea of men, mostly white men, the only woman in that courtroom, and that's Sylvia Allen. And when I looked at her face, you know, it's a photograph, it's from probably the 60s, and it's an old photograph, but you could see that this woman was special. She had an elegance, but also a twinkle in her eye. And you knew that this was someone who had been, just in a brief moment, we're going to be seeing that photo, a portrait here that will, I think, show all of you and show me, as it showed to me, what a special person this woman was. And I'm hopeful that she will inspire all of you as she's inspired us. And I'll just say, you know, many times as a student, you read about scholarships or you read about alumni and they're just names and they just sound like, you know, random people from the past. My hope, and I think Scott's hope, is that when people hear Sylvia's story and they see her portrait, they will know that not only is she someone that is an icon, she was a real person who was loved and gave so much love and inspiration to everyone around her. Thank you so much for coming. This is an honor, and thank you to her family. Thank you.
One of the things I learned in this extraordinary institution is to be honest in everything. So, ladies and gentlemen, my better 7/8. It's called honest accounting, right? Well, I hope you came to see a grown 51-year-old man cry, because that's probably what's going to be happening at some point here today. You know, this day was a long time in coming. And now that it's here and I see all your smiling faces looking back at me, I think it's people who've traveled from near and far, family and friends, students and faculty. Oh my gosh. I hope somebody comes up here and takes a picture of what I'm seeing right now, because it is beautiful, as is this moment. And yes, we're here to unveil a portrait to honor this extraordinary woman, Sylvia Allen. And like you, Diana and I cannot wait to see it. Yep, that's right. We have not seen it, and we'll see it live as you do. Most of us, as Diana was saying, weren't lucky enough to know her in person. But who she was, what she did, what she overcame, and what she stood for, well, that's echoed through the test of time, hasn't it? She's touching the lives of everybody here. She made this great institution, our profession, and this great state a better and more powerful place. And what better lasting tribute to Sylvia Allen can there be than that? You know, I've been lucky enough to teach in this extraordinary place as an adjunct professor of law for the past several years. It's one of the most rewarding things I do. And that's because I get to meet, teach, and learn from the students of today, many of whom are here with us now. And those students are also the true embodiment of Sylvia Allen and everything she stands for. She broke barriers, she blazed the trail, she made the journey possible for so many. And of course, I know in my classes and in the audience today are the next Sylvia Allens. Those will be the first. Those will be the best. Those who will make the future brighter and richer, more possible and more extraordinary because of their journey. And that too will be an extraordinary legacy of Sylvia Allen. One of the things I tell every one of my classes, and I just saw one of my students right there. One of the things I tell all of my classes is that the law at its very best is transformative. It has the power of positive change. That when they graduate from this extraordinary institution, they will have the tools to literally change the world. They can change it for themselves, their family and friends, their neighbors, their counties, their state, and this entire country. They can write the laws, they can change the laws, they can tell us what those laws mean. They fight injustice, and they can protect those in need. With the knowledge and skills they learn here, they have the opportunity to become the closest thing I can possibly imagine to a literal superhero. I mean, a literal superhero, more than Marvel or DC Comics ever came up with. And if one doesn't believe that, or if one falters in that belief, all they need do is look to the portrait that we're going to unveil in a few minutes. All they have to do is think of your mother and your grandmother. Because folks, as you know, as you've heard, and as you learn when you tell that story, Sylvia Allen did all of that and more. And like all great superheroes, their stories inspire, they stand the test of time, and they help us become our best selves. So as I wrap up, I'd like to take a moment to thank the Allen family. Sorry, here comes the tears.
Really?
None of this would have been possible without you. I know some of you had the chance to watch the video that came out last week, and I want to say a special thank you to Amy and Dylan and everybody that helped put that together, and Kathy and Liz and and Cyril. My goodness, all of you brought tears to our eyes. The stories, the photographs, you brought your mother to life in a new and special way, and it was so moving. I'm so grateful to you and for sharing your mother with all of us and being here today. I also want to thank Destiny Planter. As you all have heard, Destiny was a 2L, a dear friend, and it was a 2L, and she is the person who first told me the story of your mother, this extraordinary woman. And but for the weather in Washington, she would have been here. She wanted me to send her love and regrets to you all. She's here in spirit with us, and she should be here. She is here in spirit in this moment that she helped us envision some time ago. I also want a special thank you to my friend Jim Ammons. As you heard, his work to honor Sylvia Allen in Cumberland County has also inspired and played an enormous role in what's going on here today. And the trip to Fayetteville and traveling those roads, as you said, it's important and it's special, and I hope you all do it, to see the community, to see where she served, to see the places that she loved. It's a powerful thing to do.
You're gonna make us cry together, man.
Well, let's do it. Let's do it. I also want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Provost, Dean Brinkley, faculty, students, alumni, and friends. Your presence here is inspiring. I hope you carry this moment forward with you for years to come. Like you, I dearly love this place. This university is the people's university, as is its School of Law. What happens here matters. And what happens here is better because of Sylvia Allen and all of you. Thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry. I had a job to do. I had a job to do. Man, I have moved. I'm sorry, y'all. My apologies. There was a lot of awkward staring going on the front row. It was my job to introduce two extraordinary individuals who I kept looking at the whole time. Came down and sat, patted my arm. You're supposed to introduce Kathy and Liz. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a huge honor to welcome all of the Allen family, and I would like to invite now two of her daughters to come forward and share some memories and thoughts with us now. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Liz Allen. I am the youngest of the Allen children, and I'm also a lawyer. I want to say thank you all for coming out first to acknowledge my mother's career, her love of learning, her love of mentorship, her love of helping people. We had intended to have a little vignette of my older brother Cyril speaking first about his experience and vision of watching my mother do what she did, and Catherine to speak sort of in the early days of her practice. And then I was going to take the latter half. Unfortunately, the fog did in our brother as well. So he is still in Washington. But I do want to share my recollections, because by the time I came along, she was 15 years into her practice. By the time I came along and had some recollection of an acknowledgement of what was going on in my world, that she was something other than just my mom. And it clearly made an impression on me, because in my very early days, I remember lining up my dolls on my bed and having a little table and then walking each into my office so that I could help them with their hardest problems. And resolve it for them. And of course, I had made a little mini checkbook so that they could, you know, also pay me. And it was clear to me that my mother was doing something out in the world and that it was valuable, which, as we know, a woman outside of the home, you know, is an evolving thing, but it was clear that she was doing something valuable and it made an impression on me. And over the years, I remember little snippets of going to the courthouse and being in the courtroom and she was there. And going to her office. Originally, an office was in the basement of the house, but then at one point there was an office in like the tallest building in downtown Fayetteville at the time, which for me as a little girl was like, wow, this is great. And also one summer going with her when she worked as an assistant AG in Raleigh and spending the summer there and going into her office with her there. And the thing that struck me in each of those venues was the respect that she received from those that she interacted with. And she wasn't prideful or boastful about that. She took it as an opportunity to then reach out and help. That respect gave her an entree to take her skills and her love of giving and giving back to people and mentoring students and use that to really advance the ball, whether it was revising the bylaws of her community organization that she was involved in, or mentoring students. Fayetteville State was right down the street from our house, or it was getting together people in the community to help with the issues facing the elderly or the homeless. She took all the skills that she had, all the influence that she had, and she tried to give it back to the community. And I'm so delighted to be here today and see the respect that's coming to her now from her beloved UNC. And I hope that that will be a path forward for her story to continue to give back. So thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sylvia Catherine Allen. I go by Catherine because there was already a Sylvia, so they called me by my middle name. I'm my parents' sixth child. I was the little one when she went off to law school here. And I have to tell you, I have agonized over what to tell you, what to share with you about our mom. And I kind of finally narrowed it down to two things. So I'm going to try to hold it to those two things. But I wanted to just say to you that there's a lottery now. What is Powerball, like 1.5 billion, right? Pretty impressive. We hit the lottery with our parents. I mean, we absolutely did. And I'm gonna try not to cry, Scott. Okay, so our parents had a home that was filled with laughter. It was filled with music. They both loved music. My mom was an opera singer, music major in college. They would break out spontaneously into dance in our living room often. And she was an amazing hostess. She was an amazing chef. She loved a party. She would have loved this. Absolutely loved it. And you know, I was talking to my oldest sister who couldn't make it. Several of my siblings couldn't make it, but she was saying that that what mommy wasn't was like the one who went to the PTA meetings, or like when you got home there were cookies. Yeah, that was not my mom. But we were lucky enough, as my sister Liz really just said, we were lucky enough to know how special she was, how special my dad was, both of them. And so we saw that. The thing that I wanted to actually share though was when I was little, or when I was in grade school, we'd have these projects, and this is just an example. And I had this one on North Carolina. And so I done all this research and I wanted to get like some cotton. And so I said, can you take me to whatever the precursor of CVS was to get some cotton? She's like, cotton? That's not cotton. We're gonna go. And she literally put me in a car and we drove to somebody's farm and she made me go pick cotton out of the thing. So I really get it. And tobacco and all of that. And I put this whole thing together and she and my dad said, okay, now come talk to us. Tell us what you're gonna say. And I'm like, really? And so they made me do my presentation. They criticized it. They made me do it again. And that was just one. Okay, I mean, this was sort of how we grew up. And so the thing that I really wanted to impart to you, all of you who are students, raise your hands. Wow, lots of you. Wonderful. The first thing I really want to say is, if you don't have a Sylvia Allen as your mother, or someone in your life who's going to demand that you always strive for excellence, we invite you to channel our mom. Seriously. Every time you go there and you think, oh, I'm tired, I don't really want to do that extra step. That was who she was. She always presented excellence in every way that she could, whether it was a dinner party or us or our shoes or whatever it was. She loved shoes and hats, by the way. Okay. The second thing that I really wanted to impart is when I saw, I'm so sorry Destiny's not here. I really was looking forward to meeting her. But yesterday, I think Amy, you sent me a video that some of the students had done. And Scott mentioned it earlier, I literally burst into tears. And I burst into tears when I'm listening to all these students because I'm like, it's 60 years later. How do you all even know who my mom was? I was so moved that you were just spouting all out stuff about Sylvia Allen and this and that. It was an amazing thing for us, especially. And so, again, the thing that I really want to impart to you is legacy. Like, what is your legacy going to be? My mom inspired my sister and I to become lawyers. Rachel, stand up. This is our oldest, the oldest granddaughter, oldest grandchild of my mom, who is the third generation of Black female attorneys in our family. And I mean, you know, my mom fiercely loved us. I'm gonna start crying. Fiercely loved us, and she loved her family. And I want all of the Allen family, please stand up so everybody can see. We've got grandkids, we've got husbands. All of you all who came, friends, family, all of you who now know about our mom, we're really excited. Thank you so much. Okay, now we're saying thank you. Thank you so much to Scott and Diana for sure. We're gonna mess up folks' names, so we're gonna try to get through this, but all the deans here, I don't have my glasses.
So, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We're sorry Destiny isn't here. Again, it just blows my mind that over half a century later, someone is sharing her story because of the inspiration that was taken from it. And the fact that it is remembered now, as I said in the video, shows, you know, what matters and what's needed going forward.
And it's 60 years, like this year. She graduated in 62, right? So we want to thank Amy and Deborah and Deirdre, and I mean, we're gonna forget those. Robin. Oh my God, we worked so hard with Robin on the portrait. We had so much fun with you, and it was such a joy to help out with that.
And of course, Dean Brinkley and
Jimmy Ammons. So much of this. So Judge Ammons. To me, he's Jimmy Ammons. We literally went to high school together. We've been best friends since we were like 14 years old. So, dear part of my life, part of my journey, and I love you, and he knows that. Thank you so much for all that you did through this process.
And Chair Bullock, thank you for the beautiful comments that you brought and supporting us. And We really appreciate that and the message that you shared, which is so important. And very consistent with, everything that she believed in and stood for.
And if we forgot anyone, please, if I'm old, my head, not my heart. And I really appreciate so much of all that you all did. Thank you very much. The family is thrilled and we can't wait to see the portrait.
My name is Pico Allen, and I'm one of the granddaughters of Sylvia Allens. The three characteristics that made my grandmother an amazing one. She was wise, the wisest woman that I've ever known, and I think a lot of people felt the same when it comes to her. She sprinkled me with so many little pearls of wisdom throughout my life, and I now affectionately refer to those little pearls as my Grandma Allen sound bites, which I still draw upon to this day and hold very dear to my heart. Her storytelling abilities were magical. She had a really beautiful way of transporting her listeners to the time and place that she was speaking about. She had a very multifaceted upbringing and a very colorful life, and I could listen to her speak for hours about everything that she got up to in the world. Her pride in and love for her family was a lovely thing to witness her talk about. I used to visit her every summer for a month or two, and we went to lots of dinner parties with all of her friends, and just listening to her speak about how proud she was of all of her children's accomplishments was a really amazing thing to bear witness to. She really helped me to foster a strong sense of self and a really deep sense of self-confidence from a young age, which I'm very grateful to her for also. My hope is that my grandmother's legacy will inspire future trailblazers and change makers, as she was, to really hone in on their personal power, regardless of age, race, or gender. She's shown us what's possible when your resolve is crystal clear and unwavering, and that the seemingly impossible is actually possible with a lot of hard work and dedication. And I hope that her legacy helps future law students to really feel that although the road ahead may be long and not without its challenges, that they'll never truly be alone if they follow in her footsteps. I'm so delighted that my grandmother's life's work is being honored in such a powerful way. She's being honored with a gift that keeps on giving and helping young people to walk such an important path that she helped lay before them. In my eyes, there's no greater gift, and I could not be any prouder of her if I tried.
Thank you to the members of Sylvia Allen's family who are with us today. What a legacy she has left to you and to us, and we're honored by your presence. I want to say a few words about the artist whose work we will unveil momentarily. In addition to members of the Allen family who were intimately involved in selecting the painter for this commission, we were directed in this, as in several recent efforts, to memorialize important graduates of this law school by Professor Deborah Gerhardt, Reeve C. Ivy II Excellence Fund Term Professor of Law, who originally identified our artist. We're grateful to Professor Gerhardt for her leadership of this, as well as in so many other recent artistic contributions at our school. Robin Wellner is well known for her Art for Justice project. She has painted portraits of many great figures of our times, including Ruth Bader Ginsburg, John Lewis, and Stacey Abrams. We are delighted to have her, and the model for this portrait of Sylvia Allen, Audrium Smith, here with us today. Now it's my great pleasure to ask the Honorable James F. Ammons, Cumberland County Senior Resident Superior Court Judge and a member of the UNC Law Class of 1980, to unveil the portrait of Sylvia X. Allen, whose life, like so many of our school's pioneers, was filled with firsts. She remains an inspiration to her family, to our school, and to the law students here today. Judge Ammons.
First, I want to thank the Allen family for allowing us to honor Sylvia. I want to thank Scott and Diana for providing funds for this scholarship. I want to thank Robin for painting it. I have seen the portrait. It took my breath away and made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. But I also want to thank Sylvia and Dr. Allen for allowing me to be present in their home to see the love, family, and have an example of what life could be like. And I want to thank both of them for allowing me to be just a small part of their lives. Now, Robin, can you come up and help me? Sure. And the model. Bad thing to put a Superior Court judge in charge of. This is my friend, my mentor, my mom, Sylvia.
Oh, my goodness. We dedicate this portrait to the memory and legacy of Sylvia Allen. It's an honor to have her portrait join those of Henry Fry, the first Black Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, Julius Chambers, the famed civil rights lawyer, and Charles Day, Henry Brandis, Professor of Law Emeritus, all of which now grace our public spaces. This is a glorious day for UNC Law School and for the Allen family. Thank you for being here, and please join us for lunch in the rotunda. I believe Associate Dean Smith has some announcements and directions for you.